Okay. um, guys, good morning, guys. Hope you guys are doing good. So let us continue our discussion on signal generators. Yeah. Okay, so let us start the discussion. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay. So last class we discussed the triangular and rectangular waveform generator using what is known as a integrator and Schmidt trigger circuit. Okay, so this we discussed last class. Using integrator and Schmidt trigger circuit, we are able to generate the triangular waveform as well as rectangular waveform. We should say square wave. See, actually, the duty cycle to 50%, then we can say that it is a square waveform. If the duty cycle is different, as we see now, next we'll that also we discussed last class actually. So that we can call it as a rectangular waveform. Okay? Both are possible. Okay? There is square wave generation as well as you know the rectangular waveform generation is very much possible. So for frequency and duty cycle adjustment also we saw the arrangement. We have additional resistance. There is R4 for the frequency control and R5 for the duty cycle adjustment or duty cycle control. We can adjust the duty cycle using the resistor R5. Okay, both R4 and R5 are the potentiometers, whereas R6 and R7 is a you know, the we call fixed resistors. It's, Okay. Yes, just 1 second, because once everybody joins, so that we can continue. So that's the idea. So we need not come back to this page again. So we can continuously discuss once everybody is on the list. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So this we discussed. So this using okay. So what is the purpose of D1 and D2? Guys, D1 and D2 make sure that the current flows in only one direction. Okay, whether in this direction or in this direction. Okay? So with that intention, the diodes D1 and D2 are used in the circuit. Without diode, there will not be any control on current flow. Current will flow in both the direction, so which will not give any proper control over the duty cycle adjustment. Okay? So that is the point. Uh, yeah, here we go. Okay, so this we discussed last class. So the waveform will be generated like this. So this the waveform generation depends on the amount of resistance and the current. Okay, so last class we discussed that somebody is on the line. Okay? Yes. Okay. So R4. So as we vary the R4, we have understood that the current charge, there is I1. Current charging the capacitor varies. As the current charging capacitor varies, the charging cycle and discharging cycle also varies. So thereby we are going to control the frequency. And for duty cycle, what happens is that a resistance R5 is used. Since it is a potentiometer, it has two parts into it, R5A, R5B. So the idea here is that the more the resistance. For example, let us say this potentiometer is towards at the bottom end, and then R5 is more. R5 more means the current will be larger. That is, current I1 will be larger because lesser the resistance, more is the current. Okay. So charging cycle is faster and discharging cycle is slower. That means, guys, if you observe, there is charging while the capacitor is being charged. This end is positive, the other end is negative. That means when capacitor is charging, the voltage across capacitor will be like this, like this. Why? Because capacitor is charging. That means voltage across the capacitor, that is at the output end, output terminal point, the voltage will be negative. Okay, when it is charging. While discharging, what happens is that, okay, that if R5 is okay, if R5 is smaller, the current I1 is larger, charging is faster, R5B is larger. So current I2, what is current I2, guys? Discharging current I2. I2 will be smaller because the R5B is larger. So the discharge, while discharging, guys, this is what we have to notice. While discharging, this end will be negative, this end will be positive. That means output while discharging will be positive. Output will be positive. With respect to output terminal, it is going to be positive. Okay. So thereby, charging cycle is faster, discharging cycle will be slower. Okay, that we can observe. One is really just a second. Okay, so discharging cycle will be slower. Okay, so that we'll understand from this waveform. Yeah. Just a second, because if somebody is joining late. Okay, so thereby what happens, that you can observe from this waveform, okay. So what happens is that this cycle, that is the signal Integrator output going from positive direction to negative direction indicates that output voltage is negative. Okay, that means capacitor is being charged. Okay, this duration corresponds to capacitor being charged. Okay, when capacitor is being charged, the charging cycle is faster because R phi A is smaller. R phi A is smaller. Okay, so during that period, the output of the Smith trigger is also smaller. The waveform is smaller. Very simple. Okay, R phi larger means R phi B. If R phi A is larger, R phi B should be. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said ulta. There is R phi. I can write like this. Okay, let me write here. R phi. R phi is equal to R phi A plus R phi B. R phi B. If R phi A is smaller, charging is faster. Charging of the capacitor is faster. Okay, and R phi B will be larger. Discharging will be slower. Discharging will be slower. Okay. Yes. So thereby we get this kind of the response. It should be it will be something like this. It will be something like this. It will be something like this. Okay. So for this, the corresponding Smith trigger output will be something like this. Okay, something like this. Okay. So this will repeat like this. So I wrote wrong. I wrote this waveform wrong. It should be something like this. Corresponding to this position. So it should be something like this. Okay. So in this case, what we observe is this is on period. This duration is on period T on. This duration is off period. This duration is off period. Okay. So what happens to the duty cycle is duty cycle is equal to, look at the mouse. I'm not able to. Okay, so duty cycle is represented as in some textbook you must have seen. It is represented as K. K is equal to T on divided by T. Okay, which is not equal to 50%. Which is not equal to 50%. If it is a 50%, we can call it as a square waveform. Okay, if it is not 50%, we can call it as a rectangular waveform. We can call it as a rectangular waveform. So rectangular waveform we are able to achieve by using adjustable duty cycle adjustable arrangement using a resistor R5. Yes, okay. So that what okay. In this case, two possibilities. One is the duty cycle less than 50%. And the other possibility is, of course, duty cycle K greater than 50%. Duty cycle K greater than 50%. Okay. So in this case, what happens is R phi A is larger, and R phi B will be smaller. R phi B will be smaller. Okay. So thereby, what is happening is charging cycle is slower. Its current is smaller. I1 current is smaller, and discharging current I2 is larger because R phi B is smaller, and hence discharging cycle is smaller. And hence, what happens in this case is on period is much larger than off period. So duty cycle is more than the 50%. It's okay. So that's what explained here, guys. If you go through this in this text, the author has explained in detail. There is the operation of the circuit. I think I have covered all Q will charge faster. Okay. Given the charging, it all depends on the charging rate. Charging faster, based the duty cycle will be smaller. Larger, I1 is larger. Okay, this makes the interval larger than T1, T2. Okay, sawtooth kind of waveform. Okay, so it will no more be a triangular. Okay, so it will no more be a triangular waveform. If you can see, earlier we had a triangular waveform. Now we had a kind of a sawtooth waveform. It is not called as a triangular because if you see this ramp kind of waveform, this is called as a triangle, sawtooth waveform. Okay, so what we get is a sawtooth waveform and what is known as a rectangular waveform. Okay, that is from triangular and square waveform generator. Square waveform generator, we are generating sawtooth and rectangular waveform. Rectangular waveform. Okay, that's it. Okay, so here only we could generate 4 types of waveform. Okay, that's about. Okay, so duty cycle pulse, ratio of positive pulse. Okay, duty cycle. What is duty cycle? So frequency adjustment is done by R4, and duty cycle adjustment is done by R5. Okay, that's fine. That's we discussed. Okay, next is guys, what is the design? How to design this? I know there is uh, triangular and square waveform generator. Okay, so for this, first we start with the design of a capacitor. Okay, so let us look into these points. Specification for the signal generator must be known before any design calculation. Okay, output frequency and duty cycle must be specified. Okay, so for a given frequency and duty cycle, we are going to design a triangular and rectangular waveforms. So from duty cycle and frequency, time duration of maximum and minimum pulse widths at the high and low frequency can be determined. Okay, that is, guys, what happens with the frequency is that it is something else. There is a frequency. Let us say, for example, I'll take one sinusoidal waveform, for example. Okay, so when we have frequency, okay, so let us say this is the time period t. This is the time period t. Okay, so for a given t, let us say the frequency is f. So for a given frequency, we have to find out the minimum and maximum time period. Based on that, based on the time period, we have to design the values of resistance and capacitance. Because see, what will happen is there may be slight variation in the time period for a given frequency. Okay, so based on, of course, time period varies, frequency also varies, but keeping that variation in mind, we have to design the values of resistance and capacitance. We have to select the value of resistance and capacitance. Okay, so minimum pulse width. Okay, that means that on period and off period can be decided based on the frequencies. The time period, of course, basically higher and lower time period, which is nothing but the ultimately it means frequency. It leads to frequency. 70% duty cycle means that the positive pulse width must be 70%. Yeah, correct. And 70% of the total time period. That's right. Okay. So that is the meaning of a duty cycle. So what the author is trying to say is here the duty cycle K is 0.7. 0.7, that means the on period is 70% that of the total time period. 70% of the total time period T. Okay. Yeah. So duty cycle can be, that means the author point is very simple, guys. For a given time period, we can adjust the duty cycle. Maybe it can be something like this. Okay, or it can be something like this. That's the point. Okay. So for a non-inverting symmetrical circuit, of course, in this circuit, as we understood in the last class, the inverting symmetrical circuit can be non-inverting or inverting. Okay, the non-inverting symmetrical circuit advantages, we can adjust the gain of the amplifier. Inverting symmetrical circuit, of course, we can adjust the gain, no doubt, but gain of the inverting amplifier will be less than the gain of the non-inverting amplifier. Okay, so non-inverting amplifier is selected, but inverting amplifier is also possible. Okay, inverting symmetrical circuit can also be used. Non-inverting symmetrical circuit is designed exactly as, okay, that we'll discuss. In the numerical problem we'll see the design. Okay, as I said, in this course what has happened is symmetrical circuit we'll discuss later. Later than this signal generator, so we do not know the design concept of a symmetrical circuit. We'll understand in the numerical problem. I'll discuss in the numerical problem. Okay, so integrated design is a little more complicated than the procedure explained. Okay, because here it involves R4 and R5 resistors, and hence it is definitely not straight away. It is not a straightforward design of a integrated circuit. Sorry. So okay, so start by selecting minimum value of the capacitor charging current to be much greater, larger than the op-amp input bias current. Okay, what is the reason? This I think we discussed many times. In this case, what we have to understand is this current I1. See, this current I1 actually flows like this. The same current will be flowing to the input terminal of the op-amp. This current I1 should be selected much larger than IB max. IB, this one always, okay, IB max. Okay, what is IB max, guys? What will be the value of IB max? For a 741 op-amp, it will be 500 nanoamperes. 500 nanoamperes. So last class, we have, in the one of the numerical problem, we have understood that I1 can be taken as 100 times that of IB max. 100 times that of IB max. So it can be around 50 microamperes. 100 into 500 nanoamperes, it gives 50 microamperes. Because as we have understood, if this current is very very small, if we take this current, this much current, this capacitor value should be very very large. Okay, and in a circuit like this, we cannot afford a very large capacitor, because this capacitor is like a very dangerous element. It's like a medicine. We can't take it, of course, without doctor's prescription. Even if doctor prescribe, we can't unnecessarily take more medicine, like that. Capacitor simply cannot be taken with larger value, especially this capacitor and inductors. We have to be careful. Simply we cannot choose a larger value. Okay, this is we have to very carefully choose based on the design procedure. Okay? So that's why the author says, we start with the design of a lower, there is minimum level of charging capacity, because minimum level of charging current I1, make sure that, okay, it gives a capacitor value C1 such that the charging will be faster. Minimum level of charging current, capacitor charging current, means minimum value of the capacitor C1. Smaller the value of capacitor C1, faster is the charging of the capacitor C1. That's the idea. Okay. Larger the value of capacitor C1, current required to charge the capacitor is larger. Okay. That's how it is. Okay. What is the problem with that is because if you observe this circuit, where the current I1 is coming from, I1 current is coming from the output of the Schmitt trigger circuit, and we know that the maximum output of the op amp usually 25 milliamperes. So based on this, we have to design the value of capacitor. We cannot even design it for 25 milliamperes. That's why I said, value of I1 is taken as 50 microamperes in most of the design procedure. Okay, if you observe this 25 milliamperes and 50 microamperes, okay, though maximum current is current output of the op amp is 25 milliamperes, we select only 15 microamperes, because larger the current, larger will be the value of the capacitor. Okay, so we cannot larger the capacitor, charging time will be very large. This charging time becomes very very large. Charging and discharging time becomes very very large. Okay, so thereby we have to we have to carefully select the capacitor. Okay, so the I1, the current charging capacitor charging current I1 can be selected in such a way that C1 is equal to I1 delta T divided by delta V. Okay, where I1 is the minimum current, minimum charging current for the capacitor, and delta T is the PW max at the lowest output frequency. Okay, yes, what is the meaning of a PW max at the lowest output frequency? Yes, the meaning of that is very simple, guys. Okay, so let me take this what do you call square pulse, for example. Okay, square pulse with some time period, Okay, so now this gives a frequency f. Keeping the frequency constant, that means keeping the time period constant, we can generate variation in duty cycle. Okay, for example, one possibility is this one, this red color. Okay, other possibility is the black color one. As you can, I think you're able to something else. I'll take this something else. Okay, yeah. So in this case, what we find is this black color T-on, okay, is less than the what is the other color? Red color. This red color T-on, Okay, so that means this T-on in red color is bigger than the T-on of the black color. Now what will happen in this case is, keeping the time period constant or keeping the frequency constant, we have to vary the this duty cycle. We have to vary the duty cycle. What is the maximum duty cycle? Is maximum duty cycle when T-on is equal to T. When T-on is equal to T, it doesn't make sense. Why? How it is possible? This I don't know whether yellow color is visible. Yeah. So what is how it is possible that is T-on is equal to T? It doesn't make sense. Okay. So T-on should be less. This yellow color is not visible. Okay. So this T-on should be less than T. at least. Then only we can achieve what is known as a duty cycle. Okay, that means for the least frequency. Okay, I guess you can observe that here. For the delta t is calculated for the lowest output frequency. What is the meaning of lowest output frequency? If frequency is lowest, time period will be maximum. That means for the maximum time period that we can obtain from the output of the Schmitt trigger circuit, what is the maximum duty cycle possible? That what is the maximum on period possible? For that maximum on period possible, we have to design the value of capacitors and resistors. Okay. The reason for that is, if see, for example, if frequency is larger, what will happen is time period will become smaller. If time period is smaller, this on period will also be smaller. See, on period is larger when time period is larger. Time period is larger means frequency is smaller. Okay, so thereby for the lowest frequency possible, we have to design the values of capacitor and resistor. Okay, so thereby delta t corresponds to maximum on period corresponding to the lowest output frequency. Very simple. Okay, so what about delta V, guys? Denominator term delta V, UTP minus LTP. There is this difference, the triggering point difference in the Schmitt trigger circuit, UTP and LTP. This also we have not discussed. We'll discuss, Schmitt trigger circuit later. So the difference in this UTP and triggering points. Okay, this delta V. What is the significance of this delta V, guys? This. I think I could have taken another color. Yeah. What is the difference? I think yeah. So what is the difference between this UTP and LTP, guys? Smaller the difference, what will happen is this duration will be larger. This duration will be larger. For example, something like this, this duration will be larger. Okay. If smaller is the difference between UTP and LTP. But most of the case, what will happen, this design of Schmitt trigger circuit is standard. This is fixed. So for a given values of UTP and LTP, we'll design the values of we'll design the integrator circuit. That's why the author says, integrator circuit design is more challenging than the design of a Schmitt trigger circuit. Schmitt trigger circuit is a standard circuit. Straight away we can get the values of a components of a Schmitt trigger circuit. That's not a problem. Another factor to be considered is using by FET op-amp. By selecting C1 much larger than the, okay, what happens in this concept we have not studied, guys. Stay capacitance concept we have not studied in our course. It was there in earlier syllabus. So what, I don't know what to comment at this point for by FET op-amp, since we have not studied the stay capacitance concept. Okay, please let us not go, because if I start discussing on stay capacitance, 1 hour is not sufficient for so that's why don't bother at this stage. One point I would like to make here is, for a BFT op-amp, C1 will be larger than compared to BJT op-amp. For example, what is an example for a BJT op-amp is 741, for example. Okay, so for 741, let us say we use C1, and for a BFT op-amp, let us say we use C2. Okay, so the C2 will be much larger than C1. That's all. That you please keep in mind. Because we can't go into the discussion of stay capacitance. It is a separate chapter in the David book, separate topic, not a chapter, the separate topic. Okay. Okay. Because now what is the point here is I1 minimum, PW maximum. That means duty cycle maximum at the lowest frequency, obviously used in the initial capacitor. Because the minimum level of capacitor charging current will give the longest charging time. Okay, so smaller the capacitor value, longer is the charging duration of the capacitor, depending on the current, of course. Depending on the, because why it depends on the current is minimum. See, the point is very simple. If current is least, if this current is very small, because anyway we have selected for a smallest current possible, capacitor charging also takes longer time. If current is very large, capacitor will be charged at a faster rate. That's what it is. Okay. So here the obvious consequence is that smaller the current we have taken, longer is the charging of the capacitor. Very simple. Okay. So what is the consequence of that? Minimum level of capacitor charging current will give the longest charging time, and hence longest pulse width possible. Okay. Longer the charging time, longest is the pulse width possible. See, this is what we ultimately we want to implement. Okay, this pulse width can be maximum if current is very smaller. If we design the circuit for a larger current, then this will be very small. We will not be able to achieve larger pulse width. That our purpose will be defeated. Okay, but that's one way is good because smaller the capacitor current, smaller is the capacitor value. Smaller the capacitor value, better is the circuit operation. Not necessarily, but safer. I mean, lighter the circuit. Okay, easy to handle. Okay, yeah. So longest pulse width occurs when the output frequency is at the lowest current. Okay, so shorter pulse widths occur with higher charging current levels. Correct. So shorter pulse width means the on period is shorter. Yes, here the pulse width indicates on period. Okay, shorter pulse width means on period is shorter. Longer pulse width means on period is longer. That's what it is. Okay. So for shorter pulse width occurs with for higher charging current. Okay, so the current is adjusted using a resistor, of course, R5, R4 and R5 above the selected minimum value. So I1 minimum is selected. I1 minimum is selected. This current can be adjusted using the resistor R4 and R5. But if you start with the larger current, what will happen is, if we cannot decrease the current, minimum current will be that, so thereby it is started with the minimum current. By reducing the resistance, current can be increased. So I1 level requires R4 be a maximum and all R5 be in series with resistor R6. Okay, so while charging, that R4, R5 and R6 will be in series. Okay, that we discussed in the last class. Here R5 is taken assuming that there is no frequency adjustment. I'm sorry. There is no duty cycle adjustment. Okay? So duty cycle for a given duty cycle, R4 plus R5 plus R6. Okay. So this is, if you observe this output stage. Okay. So at this end there are two voltages. There is at this end there is a V0. This voltage, V0 output voltage V0, and the other end is the VF. What is VF? Is feedback voltage. Other end is VF. VF. Okay. What is this VF? It is nothing but a saturation voltage. Because output of this material circuit is saturating between the two voltage levels. Okay. It is saturating between the two voltage levels. That is plus V0 V0 saturation and minus V0 saturation. Minus V0 saturation. Okay. So output of this material circuit is saturating. Okay. That's why it gives a rectangular signal. Okay, so we can write in terms of plus V0 saturation. There is a output of the the inverter circuit minus feedback voltage divided by the current charging the capacitor. Okay, so VF is the forward voltage drop across the diode. Oh, sorry guys, I said VF is the feedback voltage. I'm sorry. VF is the forward voltage drop of the diode. I'm sorry. So that's a mistake. Okay, so VF is this. This is the VF voltage across the diode, which is in the forward bias condition. The other voltage is V0. Other voltage is V0. V0 saturation. Output voltage is V, because even the integrator output voltage is between the UTP and LTP. So V0 saturation. Okay, so that is this one. I'm sorry. This is V0. Just a second. Okay, so this is plus V0 saturation output of the material circuit, and this point is I'll reduce this. Okay, this V0 saturation, and the voltage across the diode is VF. Okay, and the resistance is R4, R5, R6 while charging. Okay, while discharging it is current I2. I2 is R7, R5, R4. That is a path for the current to flow while discharging the capacitor. While the capacitor is being discharged. So this is the resistance for the charging. VF is the VF is around 0.6 to 0.7 for a silicon diode. Output frequency at its highest when R4 is adjusted to 0. That means when R4 becomes 0, output frequency is maximum. Why? Because if R4 is smaller, that is, let us say 0, it is at the minimum least possible value. Current is smaller, resistance is smaller, current will be larger. Larger the current, charging cycle is faster. Faster the charging and discharging, frequency will be smaller. Very simple. That's quite straightforward. So if you consider the ratio of charging currents of the maximum pulse width at lower frequency and maximum pulse width at the highest frequency. Okay, there is two possibilities, something like this. One pulse width for the least frequency, another pulse width for the largest frequency. Okay, a duty cycle. If you consider the current for the smallest frequency and largest frequency, we can write like this: IF1 divided by IF2. IF1 corresponds to the lowest frequency F1. IF2 corresponds to the current for the highest frequency F2. Highest frequency F2 comes into picture for the largest value of capacitor, resistor R4. Larger the R4, frequency is the F2. Smaller the R4, frequency will be F1. Very simple. Okay, so this is proportional. Okay, so from this I1 is minimum because we have taken least current is I1 minimum, charging capacitor of the current. I1 minimum divided by IF2, F1 by F2. So from this IF2 is considering R4 is equal to 0. So we can write equation like this. In that case, the current becomes IF2. Okay, we are assuming that R4 is equal to 0. Okay, so from the previous expression. Okay, so resistance R4 is calculated. Okay, fine. So from this, we can calculate the resistance R4 from those two equations. Okay, so we get two equations and one unknown. So this is one equation. Okay, and the another equation is this one. This one. So unknown is R4. Unknown is R4. We can find out the value of resistance R4. It is nothing but a potentiometer. Okay, we get the value of a potentiometer. So R5, R6 depends on the maximum and minimum pulse widths at any given frequency. Okay, so for R5 and R6, what is important is this on period is important. Okay, these on periods are important. So based on this minimum and maximum pulse width, R4 and R5 and R6 has to be calculated. For maximum pulse width, all of the R5 must be in series with R6. Okay, that means for maximum. Okay, when is the pulse width maximum is? If you can observe this in this in this waveform, in the previous waveform, maximum pulse width is possible when charging of the capacitor is slower. For charging of the capacitor to be slower, current should be smaller. I1 should be very, very small. For I1 to be small, R5 should be maximum. R5 should be maximum. Very simple. Okay. So from that, we conclude that for larger pulse width or larger on period, so the R5 should be maximum. So we get that equation. So R5 should be maximum. Okay, and for minimum pulse width, definitely R5 should be lesser. No part of R5 should be 0 or minimum, because in a practical circuit, potentiometer, even if you reduce it to 0, the resistance will not be 0. It will be some minimum resistance. Is somebody on the line? I could hear some noise. Okay, no issues. Okay, so resistance will not be 0. There will be minimum resistance. So no other go. So we assume, but at the theory for numerical for equation solving purpose, we assume that R5 is minimum. Okay, so we get two expressions: R5 plus R6 maximum pulse width, R5 0 minimum pulse width. From this ratio, we can obtain the value of unknown R5. We can obtain the value of R5. Okay, so it is important. Okay, so this is what. Okay, so from this equation, PW max and PW minimum must be calculated at the same frequency. So this, as we discussed in just now, this for a given frequency F, we have to find out the maximum pulse width. There is here now it is a little difficult to identify. There is this one: maximum pulse width and minimum pulse width can be calculated, assuming that frequency is fixed. Okay. If frequency is varying, we cannot calculate the pulse width. Not possible. Okay. Okay. So the resistance R5 and R6 are determined. Okay, from equation, from those two equations. So we can find out the value of unknown R5 and R6. Of course, if R5 is known, we can find out the value of R6. Very simple. So for equality in the output pulse width and space width adjustment. Okay, so the resistance R6, R7 and R6 should be equal. Okay, that means plus what will happen is okay. So this R6 and R7 make sure that, okay, yeah, here it is. This R6 and R7 should be equal. The reason for that is, what is the necessary of R6 and R7? Let us assume that there is no, R6 and R7. Okay, if there is no R6 and R7, the problem here is this diode voltage drop is VF, which is equal to 0.7 volt, zero point 0.7 or 0.6 for a silicon diode. Okay, if this resistor is not used, voltage drop across this cannot be varied, because diode the voltage drop is fixed. We cannot control the voltage drop further if there is no R6 and R7. That's why these two resistors are used. Okay. This otherwise, it looks like R6 and R7 hardly makes any sense until and unless it will limit the current I1. Okay, to limit the current I1, we can increase the values of R4 and R5. Very simple, because after all, R4 and R5 is also a resistance. Maybe we could have managed with R4 and R5 without using R6, R7. The better reason why the R6 and R7 they employed is these diodes. These diodes gives a maximum of 0.7 volt when it is conducting. Okay, if you have a resistance, you can further control the voltage drop. That's how it is. Okay. But R6 and R7 should be equal. Why? Because this charging cycle, time should be equal to discharging cycle. That means, of course, this current I1 is charging. Current I2 is, that is for a given value of R4, a fixed value of R4 and R5. This I1 and I2 should be equal. If I1 is not equal to I2, what will happen is we don't get a symmetrical duty cycle. We get a haphazard duty cycle. That should not happen. For example, in one cycle, so for a given fixed R4 and R5, it gives a fixed T on and T off. If R6 and R7 is not equal, we may not get these two equal. These two time period will vary. There is these two duration. If you see this duration, this duration, and this duration will vary. Even otherwise, they are not equal, no doubt. But for symmetrical operation, better to make R6 is equal to R7. R6 is equal to R7. If R6 is not equal to R7, the voltage drop will be different. The voltage drop across this network will be different if R6 is not equal to R7. That's what it is. Okay? Because voltage also matters here. Voltage will ultimately affect the operation of the circuit. Okay. Yeah. R6, R7. Okay. Okay, R6 and the required op-amp slew rates are determined, okay, from a visual consideration. Diode reverse recovery time must be much okay. Diode reverse recovery time must be much smaller than the minimum pulse width at the highest frequency. Guess what is the meaning of this? Each diode has what is known as a reverse recovery time, represented as TRR, reverse recovery time. Okay, this reverse recovery time means when the diode is reverse biased, because if you observe this circuit, if one diode is forward biased, for example, while charging, D1 is forward biased. Okay, D1 is forward biased, while discharging, D2 is forward biased. When D1 is forward biased, D2 will be in the reverse bias condition. When the output goes from one cycle to another cycle, current will reverse. For charging, I1 is the current, discharging, I2 is the current. Okay, when the current reverses, the diode which was in the reverse bias condition should immediately switch back to forward conduction mode. The time required to switch from off condition to on condition should be very, very less. By what factor? This time period TRR should be less than minimum pulse width. Please observe this statement here. So this reverse recovery time should be smaller than the least duty cycle. I'll erase this so that I can, yeah. So reverse recovery time must be much smaller than the minimum pulse width. Okay, that is TRR should be much smaller than the minimum pulse width, that is PW minimum, pulse width minimum. Okay, at the highest frequency. Guess what is the meaning of highest frequency? Yes, when the frequency is very high, time period is very, very small. When time period is smaller, pulse width is also smaller. So even if you take maximum pulse width at the highest frequency, maximum pulse width, the highest frequency is much, much smaller than the maximum pulse width at the lowest frequency. Maximum pulse width at the lowest frequency. Okay, that's correct. That makes sense, correct? So maximum pulse width at the lowest frequency. This is at the highest frequency possible. Okay, so thereby this see pulse width at the highest frequency is smaller than the pulse width at the lowest frequency. This reverse recovery time must be even much smaller than the pulse width minimum pulse width at the highest frequency. That means the reverse recovery time of the diode should be ideally zero. Not possible. It will have some microsecond, nanosecond delay. We can't help. For that, Schottky diodes are preferred. Schottky diodes have the highest recovery time. Sorry, lowest recovery time. I'm sorry, lowest recovery time. So that switching speed of the diode is faster. Okay, integrator of them finalized. Okay, fine. Okay. Okay, so don't worry about this last statement. That is for the compensating network, which we are not going into that point now. So we are not discussing compensating network. Okay, let us look into one simple example. I think this takes 5 minutes. So okay, I'll try to wind up as early as possible. A design of a signal generator for a 5-volt peak-to-peak triangular output voltage and a frequency ranging from 200 Hz to 2 kHz. That is R4. R4 variation will vary the frequency from 200 Hz to 2 kHz, and duty cycle adjustment R5 from 20% to 80%. Okay, for a given frequency, for a given lowest frequency. Okay, so bipolar op-amps with a supply of plus or minus 50 volts. Bipolar op-amps means BJT op-amp. Let us say 741. Monday uses 741. Nowadays there are even better op-amps are available, no doubt. So what are to be used? Determine the suitable component values. So what are the factors we have to find out? Is we have to calculate, we have to design or select R4, R5, R6, R7, C1, and D1 and D2. This is also important. D1 and D2. Okay. Without D1 and D2, the circuit doesn't work as a frequency duty cycle adjustment circuit. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So the current I3. I3, where this I3 comes from, guys? If you see the diagram, the current I3. I don't know why the author. Oh yeah, here it is. I3. This is the current which charges the. This is the current input bias current of the Schmitt trigger circuit. I3. Okay. For I3 also the same condition. I3 should be larger than the input bias current of the op-amp. That is Schmitt trigger circuit. Okay. This is the same discussion. I3 should be greater than IB max. That is, it should be greater than 500 nanoamperes for a 741 op-amp. Okay, a 741. That is, it is 100 times. It is not given in this numerical problem. 100 times 500 nanoamperes. At least 100 times. This is at least 100 times. Okay, 500 nanoamperes. It gives around 50 microamperes. These steps are not given in the it's understood. The author as given in the earlier problem. Author assumes we already know that. Okay, yeah. What is the value of R2? Because we are designing the Schmitt trigger circuit. For a sorry, I forgot to mention that we have to design R2 and R3 also. This is also important. I forgot to mention. We have to design the value of R2 and R3 for a given value of I3. For a assumed value of I3. Okay, let's quickly. So I3 is around 50 microamperes. R3 is V0 saturation. Because of R2. Voltage across R2 is V0 saturation divided by I3. Okay, what is V0 saturation is? V0 saturation is 1 volt less than the supply voltage. Supply voltage is plus or minus 15 volts. So 1 volt less than that divided by I3. It's around 280 kilo ohms. So standard value is 270 kilo ohm. Okay. Okay. When we select a standard value based on the current, we have to calculate the current again, because based on the current, we have to calculate R3. See, if design of R3 is independent of current, then we need not recalculate I3. As long as the value of these components depends on the current, we have to recalculate. Otherwise, the design will be wrong. It doesn't give proper, a square output, proper rectangular output. Okay. So with 270 kilo ohms R2, recalculate I3 gives 52 microamperes. Initially we assumed 50 microamperes, recalculation gives 52. Not much of a difference, but it matters. For a resistance it matters. So R3, okay, how to select the value of R3? Because as I said, R split trigger circuit we have not discussed. We'll discuss in the second part of this unit. So for R3, how do we select R3? The voltage drop across R3 is UTP. Why it is upper triggering point we'll discuss later. Assume that if you, I think we can observe that from this waveform. So the voltage drop across R3 when the output voltage, okay, output of this integrator is positive, for example, okay. I think I'll take this waveform here only, okay. When the output of the integrator is positive, voltage drop across R3, because it is a non-inverting input, voltage drop across R3 is applied as a input to the non-inverting symmetrical circuit, whereas the voltage drop across R2 is output of the symmetrical circuit, okay. So voltage drop across R2 is the V0 saturation, that is the output of the symmetrical circuit. Voltage across R3 is the voltage drop across output voltage of the integrator circuit, okay. When the output voltage of the integrator circuit is positive, okay, here it is. When the output voltage of the integrator circuit is positive, the voltage drop across R3 is also positive, obviously, okay. And when it is negative, voltage drop across R3 is also negative. Since the voltage at the inverting input terminal is negative, okay, the voltage drop across R3 such that when it is slightly greater than UTP, output of the symmetrical circuit is going to change the state from positive saturation to negative saturation. Okay, so that triggering point is called as UTP. So for time being, you assume, because we'll discuss symmetrical circuit in little detail anyway. For time being, you assume that UTP is the positive voltage level which triggers the circuit when the input voltage reaches UTP. LTP is the negative voltage level which triggers the symmetrical circuit whenever the input voltage reaches negative level, called as lower triggering point, LTP level. Okay, so you assuming UTP and LTP, we have to design the value of R3, because the current through R3 is I3. Okay, so for R3, R is equal to V by I, normal our regular equation. V is the voltage drop across R3. I is the current I3, very simple. What is this voltage drop across R3? It is nothing but UTP, upper triggering point. So from this understanding, we get the expression for R3 as R3 is equal to UTP divided by I3. Very simple, okay. What is UTP? The peak-to-peak voltage of the triangular waveform is 5 volts. It's not a rectangular, it's not a sawtooth. I'm writing sawtooth, it's wrong, Triangular waveform, it is 5 volts, okay. Half of that will be UTP, and half of that will be LTP. Half means positive cycle is UTP and negative cycle is LTP, okay. So half of these peak to peak voltage is 2.5 volts, 5 volt divided by 2 divided by I3. This I3 should be taken with the recalculated value, okay. Otherwise R3 will give a wrong value if we take R3 as 50 microamperes. So R3 gives 48 kilo ohms. Standard value is 47 kilo ohm. Okay. The problem here again is that if we use 47 kilo ohm, it is still lesser. The problem here is if we use a smaller value of R3, I3 is equal to UTP divided by R3. If we reduce R3, that is instead of 40, we want 48. If we use only 47, what will happen is I3 increases. If I3 increase, R2 should decrease. Okay, so because of all this problem, 47 kilo ohm fixed resistor and 1 kilo ohm fixed resistors are used in series. Okay, so this is 47K and this is 1K fixed resistor. That gives total of 48 kilo ohms. Yes, otherwise, because all this current variation is a major point to be considered. Okay, so C1 charging capacity current is I1 50 microamperes. As we said, same assumption, 100 times the top I. Okay, very simple. Okay, now PW max is Okay, guys, so it's 10:56. Guys, I'll continue this in the next class because we have to discuss for both the condition, that is maximum pulse width, as well as we have to discuss for the minimum pulse width. We have to discuss for both the condition, and we have to understand, how do we arrive at this value. So it takes time, since you guys class, I don't want to extend now. I'll continue with this problem in the next class. Okay. Yes, with this, this triangular and rectangular discussion will be over. Next, we'll discuss the other type of oscillator circuit. Phase shift oscillators, and I think we have Wien bridge oscillator also. Oscillator amplitude stabilization. Okay, and I think Wien bridge oscillator. Okay, using op-amps. This is the one of the oscillatory circuit discussion with the amplitude stabilization, of course. Okay, signal generator output controls, how to control the output. Okay, yeah, okay. Those three topics will be left in the this part of the chapter. In the next part of the chapter, we are going to discuss the comparators and the converters. In this comparators and converters, we are going to discuss the Schmitt trigger circuit. In fact, this should have been the first topic, no, in the syllabus. Since I'm going according to the syllabus, I didn't want to disturb the syllabus flow. That's why. Otherwise, we should have discussed Schmitt trigger and integrator in detail. Then we could have taken up the signal generators. No issues, no problem. Even otherwise, we'll discuss that. Yes, I'll continue. I'll continue with the numerical problem. We'll discuss in little detail to understand the design purpose. Because this problem, if it is given in test or exam, this will be for at least no, 10 marks. It's a detailed numerical problem. Here, lot of values. So, that recalculation of current is a must. Okay. So if recalculation of current is not considered, the value what you get in the the design value will be wrong. Okay? So recalculation is a must. Okay, see here also we get the recalculation of the current. Okay, it is a must. Okay, so fine. Thank you. See you in the next class. Okay. Take care. Bye. Bye.